What's good? It's your girl Michaela Janae here, back with another video. And today's video I will be giving you guys my kinda still quarantine. Is it quarantine? Not really. Quarantine is letting up, but I'm still in the house, okay? I'm gonna be giving you guys my movie recommendations. Girl have been really watching a lot of movies since 2021 started, and they have been really good movies. So I'm going to come in here and give you guys my recommendations. One thing about me, I love music and movies and books. Music, movies, and books. I also love TV shows. Let me just start from the beginning, and I'm trying to give y'all like a little condensed version of the story without telling y'all too much of the story. So first we're gonna start with The Photograph. It could be found on HBO Max, and this movie is featuring Issa Rae and Lakeith Stanfield. Let me tell you, love this combination. When this movie first came out, so many people were telling me, ew, I hate it, like I was in the movie theater so bored, and I was like, ooh, maybe I don't want to see it because this came out in 2020. When I tell you those people were lying and they don't know good cinema, you heard the word cinema. The Photograph was like Love Jones but better, okay? That's what it was given. The way I see movies has really changed over quarantine. I started to look at them differently. I started to notice things from the director's angle and everything, and try to get more into the story that the writer was trying to show me, okay? The Photograph had a lot of emotional contact. Like, I saw a lot of the movie in their eyes, the way Issa Rae was looking at Lakeith, the way Lakeith was looking at Issa Rae. The words didn't say as much as their eyes did. Like, I felt more of their feelings through their eyes. So one thing I also loved about this story is that some of it was based in Louisiana. If you did not know, I am from Louisiana. So this story is about Issa Rae. She plays the daughter of a photographer that recently passed away, and Lakeith Stanfield, he's a writer that is writing a story on her mother. So, you know, he goes to her, he asks some questions, and they kind of fall in love. And I don't want to give you guys too much of the story. It's really a nice love story. I really enjoyed it. It showed black love without a lot of problems and trauma. They had real things that happened in it. Like, I can see this being a lot of people's stories. I appreciated the story because it showed a strong black woman. It showed a black woman who had a really successful career. She did what she had to do to get her career. It showed a black man with a very good job. It showed a black woman with a very good job that had thriving friendships, and I really enjoyed this movie. It was really good. It's definitely a must watch, and I'd give it 10 stars hand down, okay? Once again, HBO Max. So next I have One Night in Miami, okay? First, let me preface this. It has some curse words in it. It does. But I enjoyed this movie because I am also a history buff. To know that with Sam Cooke, it was Jim Brown, it was Muhammad Ali, and Malcolm X having one night together in Miami. That is iconic in itself, so I needed to know what went down in that room, okay? I absolutely love the Malcolm X movie. I watched it for the first time once again during quarantine, when quarantine was like popping. I watched that movie on Netflix once again. 10 out of 10. Love that. If you have not watched the documentary, if you have not watched that movie, even though it is pretty long, you need to watch it. It's pretty essential. His story is something that is extraordinary and very pivotal in a lot of black people's story, okay? And just the story of black people in general. So to know that all of them came together during a very big night in Muhammad Ali's life, and it was a pivotal turning point in basically all of their lives, because after that things kind of blew up, okay? So this movie is just depicting a very important night where four men that became very essential in the black movement and the movement of liberating black people. After that, that's when Sam Cooke made A Change Is Gonna Come. After that is when Malcolm X's house burned down and he separated fully from the Nation of Islam. After that is when Muhammad Ali joined the Nation of Islam without Malcolm. And after that is when Jim Brown, you know, left football and became an actor full-time, okay? And I learned that stuff from this movie. This movie is so informational, and it also just shows that time period and what was going down. I really loved it. It was a must watch. 10 out of 10. The next movie I watched, Actually, I did not expect to enjoy this much. Okay, it's Inception. Inception is a movie that I found a lot of pastors referencing to, and I was like, I don't know how good this is going to be. And then it had Leonardo DiCaprio in it, so I was like, I don't know how good this is going to be. But turns out it's a 10 out of 10. So this movie was about Leonardo DiCaprio. He invades people's dreams to take information, basically to steal from them. So he goes in their head and steals things from them, their deepest thoughts. Look, it's kind of complicated, but it's really good. So basically he enters people's dreams with another team of people, and there's so many levels to the human mind. I really enjoyed this movie because it makes you think about how real this could be. I know people can't steal things from in your dreams because we don't even have that much control of our dreams as they say they do in the movie, but it's just so interesting. Like, I loved this movie. 10 out of 10. I don't think any of these movies weren't a 10 out of 10, but I'm gonna keep giving y'all my rating, okay? So Inception was that movie. It had a lot of great stars in it, and it just kept me on my toes the whole time. It was kind of stressful, but it was very, very good. I loved it. Oh, and that can be found on HBO Max. One Night in Miami is on Prime Video. Soul can be found on Disney Plus. Soul, I would give, okay, it wasn't a 10 out of 10. I would give it a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. Just because I felt like they could have did a little bit more, but they did get the job done. It felt good to see a true depiction of black people in animation form. I really love that part of it. So if you have not watched Soul yet, I don't know what kind of rock you were living under, but I was kind of late to it too. Soul is about a black musician who really never got his big break. Right now he was a band teacher, but he was always just trying to perform and be a performer, and he thought that's how he was going to get his fulfillment. But then he dies and he keeps trying to get back to earth, and yeah, that's basically the movie. Him trying to get back to earth, and he ends up helping another spirit on its quest to never go to earth. It kept my attention. I liked seeing the animated black people. It was super authentic. I love the barbershop scene. I love just seeing him, Jamie Foxx, act. But you know, it was alright, but it's definitely a must watch. I loved it. It was definitely a step for the culture. So next up is also a Disney Plus original, which is Safety. Safety was that movie. Safety is a 10 out of 10. It was not animated. It was actually based on a true story. It was based in, like, I want to say like the 2010s era, somewhere in there, and just the music they played in the movie, like, ooh, I loved it. It really put you in the scene. It was about this football player who did not come from a great home, and when he left for college, he left his little brother with his mother, who was a drug addict. So, you know, eventually he had to go back and check on his little brother, and the little brother was not in great conditions. It was not working out, so he ended up taking him to school, and that is what this movie is about. It is a true story. This man really did, you know, take in his little brother at a time where it was not okay, and it's still not okay. When you're playing football, there's so many things coming against you that can make you ineligible. There's so many things that you cannot do. He couldn't receive help. It really was a great story. I loved this movie. It's definitely something I would rewatch. It was that movie, okay? And just to know that this really happened, and to know that to know how things worked out for him, it was an amazing story. I'm trying not to give y'all too much of the movie, but you have to watch Safety, okay? Some recent movies I watched is Shirleys Love. This is another love story, and this one can be found on HBO Max, I want to say. No, it can be found on Prime Video. So Shirleys Love is a period piece. This was in, I want to say, it was based in the 60s or 70s. No, not the 70s. It was either based in the 50s or the 60s. Like, from the commercials, it's totally different than what I thought it was going to be. So it is about this black woman who works in a record store, in her father's record store, and she meets this black man who is a musician in a band. And you know, she's actually already engaged, but she falls in love with this man slowly but surely. She comes from a kind of well-off family. Her mom is really into, you know, class and society living and all type of stuff like that. So you should already know the parents was not feeling this musician at all, but she fell in love with him, and it's really about their love story and the sacrifices they made for each other and how hard it was to be together back then. But when I tell you, it really is a beautiful love story. And once again, this was another one of those movies where it was all in the eyes. Like, not much was said, but to me, those are the better love stories, when you can just see it in their eyes, when most of the communication is non-verbal. That's how I like to see love on screen, okay? Especially black love. I absolutely loved Shirleys Love. It was so good. Her father owned things. It was really nice to see a story that wasn't about struggle. It felt good to see normal stories that dealt with black joy also. Now we get to talk about Tenant, okay? Tenant can be found on I want to say HBO Max, definitely HBO Max. Tenant features Denzel Washington's son. I don't remember his name, but let me tell you, whenever I see this man act, I never really lump him together with his father. He is way more than just his father's son to me. This man can act, and it's super convincing. Tenant is about a super deep FBI operative person who deals with some serious time travel. And it's not time travel in the way that you're used to seeing it. It's time travel in like small instances and objects, which can be kind of confusing. But I love movies that's confusing, bro. Like, I want to be confused to the very end. I really did not know what was going on half the movie, but it was great to watch it, okay? And then I love how it wasn't super obvious. I love how there wasn't any really love going on in it. Like, you could tell he cared for the lady main character, but he wasn't trying to get with her, and I appreciated that. Like, it focused more on the drama and the action more than the love or any type of interest he had, because it wasn't about that. So I really appreciated that, and I really just loved seeing everything come together. There's so many moving parts in it, and let me tell you, Robert Pattinson was in this. He's the one from the little Twilight movies. When I tell you I've never watched one of those a day in my life, never watched it, so I had no hopes for him being in here, but it was so good. He did his thing, and I had no faith in him whatsoever, but he did his thing. Tenant is definitely a 10 out of 10. Safety is a 10 out of 10. Shirleys Love is a 10 out of 10. So last but not least, let's talk about some Michael B. Jordan, okay? Let's talk about Without Remorse. Without Remorse did its thing. A lot of people were telling me, like one of my clients were telling me, that she was turned off from watching it because she realized that Lauren London was going to die. But let me just tell you, that does not take away from the movie at all, okay? This movie did its thing. Once again, I'm an action girl, so if you don't like action and you don't like a little fight, this ain't the movie for you, because Michael B. Jordan was just doing his thing to, you know, avenge his wife's death without remorse. He did not feel bad for doing nothing he had to do. This movie did its thing. So that's what it was about the whole time. It was basically about revenge. It showed black women in power. Like, he was in the army, once again, deep special agent unit, all that type of stuff, and his ranking officer was a black woman. So once again, showing people in power. Most of these movies were not about being black, it just showed black people in excellence. These were just great movies that featured black people, and when it comes to great cinema, that's all we've ever asked for. We've just asked for to have, you know, the action movie. We've asked to have the superhero movie. We've asked to have the love story just featuring black people. It doesn't have to be about them being black or black struggle, but it's just showing us in every aspect and facet. That is it for my recommendations. You guys need to check out all of these movies. One thing I don't like about today's movie scene is that so many things have to be streamed. I wish, but I feel like most of y'all have streaming services. I'm someone who actually still has cable, thank you Jesus, because I love to watch me some TV. But if you don't have any of these streaming services, you know, I do feel sorry for you because they're not everywhere. These movies, the movies that are on Prime Video aren't everywhere. The HBO Max ones definitely are not everywhere because HBO do not be giving out their movies. But I hope you guys check out all of these movies. I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you guys have recommendations from me, let me know. I'm gonna holler at you guys in my next video.